There's a madman here with his hand on a button.
That man is me. Hello, and welcome to Depth Perception. We discuss movies and dive into how films direct the way we experience them. We create a perception of sound, a perception of sight, with a dimension of mind. We move into a land of both shadow and substance, of themes and ideas. I am Mr. Vozly, and I have kidnapped the Tin Man and Kmax to bring them with me on a tour of not only poverty in movies, but foreign film. Both movies we watch for this chapter are foreign films. After re-listening to some of our first season, one of the aspects I wanted to continue was how we can continue to challenge ourselves. I know foreign movies are indeed a challenge. I've heard you guys say as such. And an old foreign film would be double the challenge. So, like I said, I've got Kmax and Tin Man with me.
Ciao, Bella. Oh, mwah. Mwah. Molto bene.
I would love to hear the
How about some spaghetti? Remember Kevin?
Maybe some spaghetti. Kevin Malone, everybody. But I wish, with all the mannerisms in the movie, I wish we could hear it in English to see how pronounced and over the top it is. So today's episode is brought to you by the 1948 Italian movie Bicycle Thieves. This is what the kids today might call, quote, goated. With good reason. It is often on many top 100 movie lists, and I know I learned about it during my time at Syracuse. However, I also forgot about it during my time at Syracuse.
Forgot a lot of things then.
I find, though, despite how well regarded the movie is, current audiences have absolutely never heard of it. So Bicycle Thieves follows unemployed Antonio Ricci as the theft of his bicycle threatens his new job. Simple enough premise, right? One of the things I do recall about it was a phrase, Italian Neorealism. And so that it's a film style around that time. I want to say 40s and 50s, maybe just 40s, that it was about capturing life as it is, about normal people, typically lower class, but it was opposite Hollywood at the time, where Hollywood is on set and glitz and glamour and big stars and big heroes and big stories, and this was free from a lot of that and just whittled down to just the human experience, I would say. So more filming outside, more actual, no sets, and just capturing everyday life and struggles of normal people. So I remember that was pretty much the only thing I recalled from watching the movie. This makes me feel old, by the way. A 1948 movie that I watched 18 years ago. As always, we're going to talk about our initial reactions, favorite scenes, as well as our thoughts on the theme and why. Other talking points are going to include a callback to fatherhood, emotional impacts, a scene perception, how the movie depicted poverty in relation to our discussion in the previous episode, use of symbolism, and how relevant the story is today. So I'm excited to discuss this movie through our lenses and see what our views are. So one thing I'm going to put out there right now, though, is I know for myself, I try to steer clear of historical context, and I try to relate this movie to today. And that's the lens that I put on it to start for myself. And I wanted to do that so that we have some, hopefully, pretty different perceptions of the movie, but also see how relative it is to today. You know, we might have a perception. I know Kmax likes to look for the history in movies, and with his education background, and I'm banking that he did it on this one so that we can see how cyclical the nature of the movie is. Get it? Bicycle.
Bicyclical. Nice.
And then we also have Tin Man, who I was also hoping would watch it either today or yesterday, late last night. Something where he doesn't have time or resources to pick it apart. And
Yeah,
that
none
he's
of
just
that.
going basic on
2 hours ago.
Yes. So everything is according to plan so far, and hopefully we have some good different but relating perceptions of the movie. So because I know the context of the movie, neorealism is trying to point out how things are at that point in time. It's almost, we talk about slasher, that timestamp of how life was. So I wanted to update that, I guess, and see how it does today.
Nice.
So, initial reactions. We'll go with the freshest.
Oh my goodness.
Tin Man.
It's like I didn't even have enough time to go through the homework in order to pick this apart. As soon as it was done, drove over here. All right, initial reactions. My first, okay. I didn't get enough time to delve any deeper in themes or like symbolism that was being displayed, because I'm kind of just trying to keep up with the plot. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I thought, almost obnoxiously Italian. Like they're just, all the mannerisms are almost over the top, and I'm like, I think that's just Italian as it is. But my initial reactions were it did feel a little Florida Project-y, where I'm like, okay, here's down in the dumps. People are like struggling to survive and get by, and the world that they live in, and how this is going to affect the plot or your characters and what decisions they have to make, and what stakes are they at because of their situation. I did enjoy it for the most part. Trying to follow it. It's definitely one of those movies where like I have to intentionally watch and pay attention. It's going to move. It's not going to be obvious what's trying to be displayed here. You kind of have to have your brain on as it goes from scene to scene.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like an emotional.
Yeah.
You have to follow the emotions rather than the plot per se.
Right. It's like, okay, so where's he at in his journey? His bike gets stolen, and then he's like finding ways to fix this before, because his whole job is kind of riding on his ability to have a bike in order to feed his family, to pay the bills and everything. So it wasn't a super like entertaining movie, but I didn't watch it for the entertainment value. Like you go into it looking at it like, okay, it's going to tell me a story, or it's going to paint a picture, give me a lesson. There's something here to be told. What are they trying to tell me? And then follow it through.
It's like a whole different experience watching a movie that way.
Right. Yeah, this is like the homework we come into.
Yeah, it is.
So it's like, okay, get the pen and paper out. Let's,
I felt like calling my classmate and saying, let's do this as a cohort. You and I, don't tell Voz, like we did with Skinamarink.
Yep.
Kind of like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, we sat
I
in the
will say
driveway.
I enjoyed this much more than I enjoyed Skinamarink. I will watch this over and over again before I watch Skinamarink again.
We're like, comparing notes. We're looking for the paraprofessional for the teacher aide. Can we talk with your graduate assistant, Voz, on this one?
Yeah. What is?
But so like that mindset though is why it can be trouble for me watching a lot of movies, because I go into it with that mindset.
It is a little taxing.
So it's it's not like I can spend all day and watch 5 or 6 movies unless they're meant to be binge watched, like a slasher series or something.
Right.
Or like comedy, like American Pie movies or something. But if it's something like this or something, that's meant to stand on its own, it can be very taxing, where your mind is glued to it. And so I've mentioned it before, like I'm like, give me like 90 to 100 minutes of trim stuff of your story so that I can, so it's not such a workout.
Right.
Because if you're talking 2 hours more, then it becomes, well, how attentive am I supposed to be for this entire, 2 hours plus? Mm-hmm. Looking at you, Christopher Nolan. So, but I'll stop there. Kmax,
awesome.
Give me your initial thoughts.
Your turn.
I gotta say it was difficult to watch because I guess it wasn't obvious, and I pick obvious movies very often. I like obvious movies. I can always say instant feed me now cheeseburgers. I like accessible. I use the microwave a lot. I am someone who, I got 3 pair of pants and I rotate them. I'm very, and I want to consume it. I want a movie. I want my media. I want my entertainment to be easily consumed. And films, the reason why Voz says we're getting the double entente of difficult, because foreign film, black and white film, you know what I mean? Older, foreign black and white film. It's like, all right, how about subtitles? There it is, subtitles.
Yep. Subtitles and social context.
So now I got to decode too,
Mm-hmm.
and I read very deliberately, so I got to read at a pace too, and then reading it, and I'm hearing them, and I'm trying to go through their mannerisms also, and it gives another layer of difficulty for me. Mm-hmm. In spite of all of that, I really enjoyed it because I felt, and I could be totally wrong, and we'll find out as we get into the notes here how wrong I am, but I felt like I was more equipped now in
There is
season
no
2.
wrong, by the way.
That's right.
There is no spoon.
Only appearing stupid on a podcast. That's all there is. Only stupid people who say wrong things, Christopher.
Just social.
There's only
social
70
corrections is all
years
you're
of
getting. You're just getting some
critiques.
social corrections. Yeah.
That's it. So I just felt like I'm ready for this, and I found myself getting a lot from it. I watched it with you here, and then I watched it here and at the shop, right?
Yeah, at the shop first.
Yeah, at the shop first, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm getting a lot from this without keeping notes and being super critical, just kind of consuming it, just kind of hanging out in the shop. And I was thinking, that's not normal for me. And then I found myself, when I was writing notes for tonight, I'm like, I have a lot of stuff here. Now it's going to be tough to show the braveness to put out there what I think about some things, because it might not be anything what they were trying to say. But I thought to myself, this is how I perceive it, so I will share that. And listen, young kids out there, it's okay to be wrong. That's how you grow. Just don't be wrong all the time.
Like I said, though, so this movie is, 70, almost 80 years old?
Yeah.
So whatever we think now is almost 100% not the intention or the mindset of the people that made it. I mean, things exist now that you probably would have never thought possible back then. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there is a wrong during this discussion. And like I said, I'm hoping for 3 very different perspectives on what we watched. But I'm glad you mentioned the idea of translating, because you're hearing the Italian, you're reading the English, but you're also watching the faces, the eyes, the mannerisms, the movements, and you're reading the emotional language of what you see rather than what you hear and read. So I thought that's pretty important that you brought that up. So my initial reaction, I'm going to go with 2 initial reactions. So first one, I kind of mentioned it before. I did see it during film, well, not film class per se, but like my art classes at Syracuse. And I remember kind of having like a little bit of a non-reaction, I guess I'll say, where at the time, I'm 18 or 19, and it's a black and white movie from the 40s, And so me being a teen and out of high school away from home, there's this whole world of stuff that's new to me. And watching an old 40s movie was probably not at the top of my list of things to experience. So so I don't think I devoted enough time or effort to dissect the movie. But like I said, what I do remember is the idea of this neorealism, where it's showing you, just real life. And I remember this movie was paired up, I believe, with a movie called Wendy and Lucy. And that movie is from the 2000s, I believe. And from what I remember in that one, again, it's been 20 years close to 20 years since I've seen it, but I believe it's a woman loses her dog, and it's just a much like Bicycle Thieves. The rest of the movie is just her trying to find her dog. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I remember. So my first reaction, I watched, like Kmax, I think we both watched like the first 20-something minutes of it during our day, and then we finished up watching it together at Hilltop. And so that, I feel like that was the first complete viewing of me remembering what happened, and then watched it again right before recording just to solidify some facts and timeline of things, so I don't get it wrong during our discussion. So, favorite scenes. Don't say the ending though, because the ending,
in that
much
case,
of the end,
he's going to have to go first.
Much of the ending is going to be the scene perception. So the scene perception today is when Antonio steals the bike and tries to get away with it. So besides that, did you guys have favorite scenes?
I had two that come to mind. And like you said, because of the history of it, the first one was the initial scene where they're calling out jobs. And there's just a big gang of men just clamoring for work, wanting to work. And there seems to be an employment agent calling out names. And there's just not enough work to go around. And everybody wants work. And they can't find work. And I remember, as I was watching those first initial scenes, being on my phone and checking my my global studies notes about like kind of Cold War Italy, like post World War II Italy, and seeing, I'm like, this is supposed to be Rome? When was this? When was it that economically depressed? And there was probably 3 or 4 different times, but the time that was the most was like right after World War II. And so, to give a little bit of context of why I like that scene, I want to just present a little history, if I could, just a tiny bit. Because, and to do that, I want to make sure I have my notes. So, like, Italy was pretty much, after being occupied and controlled a lot by Germany, like most of Europe was in ruins and economic depression, political instability, and extremism, and including, like, religious extremism also. They were getting their economic system and political system were being pushed and pulled by communism, by the Soviet Union, and by America, trying to keep them a democracy, make them a democracy, and give them free elections. The price that was paid was on the people living there, because in order to rebuild, you needed help from one of these places. And so America had these foreign policies, which is current right now, but by the way now, because people are saying, what are we doing putting all this money over there? I'm like, I don't know, following our foreign policy we've had since 1947. That's never been changed. We're controlling the spread of communism. We're containing it. And so, like, the Marshall Plan was America would intervene to help rebuild and help get their economies stable, pretty much to stabilize the region so they didn't go to help from communist nations. And so this was happening in Rome at this time when this movie's taking place. And I thought, well, because you see later scenes where you have the agency of the employment agency, then you have like a communist rally that's happening, and you see people kind of agencies, everybody's just trying to take a foothold in these people's lives, and what that made me think about, that first scene is like, poverty lends itself to desperation, and desperation lends itself to idealism and extremism, because you're looking for something to get you out of there. If you have kids starving at home, you're going to find a way out, hell or high water, which is, not so ironic. So like desperate times call for desperate measures. And there were people who seemed like pretty good neighbors, all in the struggle together, all poverty together. You can see them being bitter at each other. Like, well, I can do that job. He doesn't have a bike. Tough for him. I can do it. Well, you're not you don't do that. This job isn't for you. And the one guy who, yeah, I'll do it. He doesn't have a bike. He just told you he doesn't have a bike. I'll do it. And he's the employment agent sitting there telling him, you can't do it. It's not for you. I don't have any jobs for you. And these people like looking at them like they're the problem, the employment agency. And all they're doing is telling you what's available. That scene was pretty good. Another scene I thought was really good, if I could, when she sells the precious sheets from the beds. These precious things, takes them to the pawn shop, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so the pawn shop takes them, and then they go and they look and they see the scope of the poverty. I guess the scope of how many people did the exact same thing in desperate times. And I was telling James pre-production here, Tin Man, whoever James is, I was telling them that you see the scene unfold where you look like mountains of sheets, racks and racks and racks, Sam's Club size place, times two, of all these sheets. And the guy gets up on this ladder and goes up 2 or 3 stories to put those sheets, that just almost like a speck, like sand on a beach. Just giving you, I thought that scene was big because it had, talk about symbolism later, but like it just really painted a picture which was worth 1,000 words of, this is the scope of desperation. Look how many families were desperate. There's probably not a sheet left in Rome because they're all at the pawn shop so they could make the rent or pay for their next meal. I thought that was a pretty cool scene.
I actually had that one as one of mine as well. But I feel like I had a different perception of it.
Nice.
Where it was, desperation, yes, but it was almost kind of like I think it's hinted throughout the whole movie, and it kind of relates a little bit to my theme. I'll weave it in later, but kind of this idea of this collective and kind of, well, what makes you so special? You're not doing anything different than anyone else has already tried.
Yeah.
So why should you get any more of a break than these people? So I feel like that's hinted throughout the movie, and those, I think they tended to be some of my favorite scenes because I think it works against maybe what was originally the intention, to draw empathy towards this father figure, but it ended up for me drawing more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Apathy.
I don't know about apathy, but more like this is your own fault. Like, why aren't do
General
better?
Malaise.
You're definitely not doing this.
So not
the
as harsh
smart
as
way.
apathy, but in that direction.
Yeah. Because there's other things too. Where in the beginning,
I was on that same page.
in the
And I'll get
beginning,
there.
his wife says, I have to see a woman in town, and he's like, a woman? Yeah. So she goes, and it's like a psychic, and she's waiting in line, and it's just to pay off like the debt that she owes this psychic. And he's like, what a foolish thing a woman does is spend money. And what happens later is he resorts to the same thing. And I feel like, aside from the ending, this is probably my second favorite scene.
Oh, cool.
Because when he's in that same line and the seat opens up and the kids, come on, we get here, and she decides to tell him, or decides to let him go next. And she tells him, and you can look, just the look on his face, it's not anything that he doesn't already know. Well, look for the bike. If you haven't found it by now, it's lost forever.
That's right.
And it's not like, oh no, don't tell me that. It's kind of like, well, yeah, I was kind of hoping you'd tell me something different. It was So it was stuff that he already knew, but it was also a moment where you see him kind of being contradicted or a little bit, you see the hypocrisy there. And you, for me, like I said, maybe not the intention when it was first out there because of the economic times that were, realistic, but seeing it now, it's kind of, what are you doing spending money on a psychic?
Yeah.
And not only that, but already knowing what the psychic was going to say, and you just criticized your wife for spending the same type of money, for the same person, the same thing. So to me, it created these feelings and emotions of, I don't know, you see like a horror movie and you're like, well, don't go into the dark room by yourself,
I agree with that, and I had a few different instances. Oh, was that
Well,
weird?
so
Okay,
that was my
yeah,
second
yeah,
favorite
yeah.
scene. Go to your favorite scenes first, though.
I don't know if I guess it would be my favorite scene.
Or anything that you had like strong reactions to. Then.
So, like, when he first gets the job, he goes to the family and he's really like lit up and playful. He's got a new uniform and everything. And I see the title of the movie, so I'm like, oh, yeah, that's okay. We know where that's headed. But like leading up to that point, when they call out his name, he's not where he's supposed to be. Everyone else is okay. Is my name coming up? Ricci, and he's someone's got to go get him because he's like playing into the stones. Like I'm like, okay, this guy is. How did I describe him in here? Unfortunately dim, I guess. So like I've known people like this where they're like they're down on their luck. I'm like, yeah, buddy, but your bike's way over there and you don't have an eye on it because you're working. Bring it a little closer because it can be easily stolen.
I feel like we all know this type of person too.
We all know someone who's
the
like,
world's against me. Like, I don't have a dime to spare.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You drive an Escalade.
Yeah,
like that sort of thing.
Yeah. I couldn't get an inspection on my car because my engine light's on. I'm like, you put freaking rims on it. Why didn't you pay to get your engine fixed? So that's the vibe I got from him. So I know I did get to listen to a little bit of a review where someone was like, oh, this shows why crime, has its place. Or I'm like, I'm not getting any of that from this review.
Well, that's why I said, probably not the intention of when it was first made because, like I said, it's a neorealism story. But looking back on it, you can also see today we have a lot more resources, I would say, than back then. But I feel like it's interesting to get the mindset, I guess, from today compared to.
And I will say this though, I have felt like that guy before, where I'm like, I don't want to make my wife feel like she attached her wagon to a dying horse type of feel, because like. Oh, I got it going now, and if I don't want, ooh, I'm getting the music.
Yeah,
you're getting the bookmark. You can open up that bookmark when we talk about how relevant it is to today.
I'll leave it then. I'll just say that how they react when he first gets the job and stuff, knowing what might happen depending on on the title. And what he kind of just got handed. He kind of literally just got handed something that I don't think he's going to handle well. So we'll see how this goes and the relationship with him and the wife and the children all being there. So that seemed to be poignant enough where I recognized it. I wouldn't say, I guess that's my favorite scene, is just seeing how this is going to go. This is just a little bit of happiness that can easily fall as sand through your fingers.
Yeah.
Seeing that moment
pretty much the only, quote, happy part of it.
I enjoyed that scene, too, when she got on the bike with him. She, sat
made
saddle on the bike. And
made you feel warm.
Yep.
Warm and cuddly.
Like a little foreboding, because you kind of, the title and all. But I liked it, because it felt like the reprieve for now.
Right.
And they definitely did. He did give me, what's her name? Haley vibes. Not that he was as bad as her, because he's not in that world, but he's kind of in the same boat as her.
Yeah, it's funny how different scenes grab people differently. Because like that same scene, I saw some of that, but I saw so crystal clear institutional failure, and the whole crowd was being. So like, I mean, I won't get into my theme just yet, but like, there was institutional failure riddled through that whole first scene, and I almost to a point being disgusted with that and the feeling of hopelessness that I'm feeling for this crowd. I was so distracted that I didn't even see him. I didn't even pick that up.
Somebody had to go get him
That
because
he
wasn't
out
even
and
noticing.
about.
Yeah.
Out and about.
Tin Man, if it helps with your confidence this episode, I did have that as one of my, like, a big part of supporting my theme. That scene the introduction to this character.
I have no idea where my theme is being built towards. I'm not there yet. I'm reading the homework now.
That's all right, because when did we watch the movie? Was it Tuesday?
Tuesday.
And I was playing around with my theme for a few days before I landed on something that wasn't like a paragraph. So don't feel
And I'm trying not to put something on it because as soon as I got something in my head where I go, oh, this could be it, I see the next scene in my head. I go, no, that doesn't make sense now. So, we'll see how it goes by the end.
Yeah,
of it.
like I said, though, it'd be interesting to see how different we are. At least from Kmax. So let's dive into the scene perception then of the end, and just to remind our listeners, the scene that we're talking about is. Towards the end there, they're at the soccer match at the stadium, and Antonio keeps looking over at this lone bike against the wall and no owner next to it. And the hustle and bustle of the crowd that may or may not notice that he's, eyeing this bike up. But, of course, once he steals it, there's quickly a mob to stop him. And a handful of individuals track him down in the streets, take him off the bike, and they're dragging him. They're going to take him to the police station. Bruno is chasing after him, and instead of following through, the owner of the bike decides to just let him go. So that's the scene. So we got 3 different people here. We're going to see how each of us interpreted that whole thing. Does anyone want to go first?
I'll go first.
Go for it.
The overwhelming moment of that scene was the bike owner showing grace. Ultimately, for me, that overshadowed so many crucial and I think important things that happened in that scene. Was eventually this man who's facing these same institutional failures, he's facing this same depressed economy, who maybe made better choices, but understands the plight of this man, obviously, because he said, you know what, I don't want any trouble. I got my bike back. You just go. And I feel like that flies a little bit in the face of the shortcomings of the man, because he should face justice for trying to steal his bike. But I think that the filmmaker does a really good job of showing us a contrast of, all right, let's look at the scene when his bike gets stolen. Instead of looking at him being to blame for the bike getting stolen, because he was a little careless. But he was working on a ladder with paint. There's only so much you can do when you see it happening to get down the ladder with paint to catch him. And he did move his butt
especially
to catch him.
When there was at least one accomplice.
And here's the thing. It seemed as if, this is what became pretty clear to me, that the filmmaker was trying to do is create a contrast between the moment that he saw it happening, it seemed like the entire scene, the scenery, everybody in the scene, all the peripheral characters, the cars, everything was working against him to get his bike back, or even to see where it was going. And in this scene, for the assignment here, I'm glad you picked this scene, because I felt like it was purposely showing the entire scene, the entire town worked collectively to bring him to justice and catch him. Mm-hmm. And so you see the contrast there, and I couldn't help but feel sympathy for him. I'm like, yeah, he might have been a little negligent in his scene when his bike got stolen, but what is his crime? Doing his job and having his bike down a ladder and a little bit further away. Is it a little bit reckless? Maybe. Does he deserve to have his bike stolen and the whole town cover, seemingly, for this person to get away? I don't think they're trying to. His accomplices were, but like, not everybody. But the whole town seemed to close up around him to keep him from finding his bike. Whereas in this last scene, it's almost like karma said, you knew what right and wrong was to do. You chose wrong. And because you're good, it's going to show you justice. But then it's also going to show you grace. With the bike owner saying, I don't need to take him to the police. It's fine. I got the bike back. I don't want any trouble. So it's almost like he had to be accountable for his actions. The boy had to see the whole thing. The boy sitting there with the, after his hat gets hit, the boy's carrying the hat, like, Papa, Papa, so Italian, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then, you had to see this whole thing, him being shamed and whatever. Well, I had to get over feeling just nothing but sympathy for him, saying, oh, of course he's going to get caught, and what's he guilty of? He's trying to make a living and save his family from starving to death. Yeah, of course. And so I'm justifying him doing it. Meanwhile, what I should be happy about is that being a faith guy, the goodness of God brings you to repentance. So it's like, it's almost grace showing him, catching him, and saying, you don't want to go down this path. Even though he did already, that's justice grabbing a hold of him, shaking him, and saying, and then there's grace again saying, all right, I'm not going to press charges. You go ahead and get out of here. But he's still got to live with the result of that. He's got the little boy. He's got to live with that the rest of his life, Anyway, that scene felt like it was built for the contrast. And it hit me in a lot of ways where I felt sympathy for the guy. It's like, oh, of course, when his bike was stolen, the town betrayed him. Not everybody on purpose, but it seemed like everything worked out where he wasn't ever going to see that bike again. And when he decides to do it, it's like instant accountability, whack-a-mole, boom, right on the head.
Well, it's like sports with the refs. The refs always catch the second guy.
Yes! I felt like, I didn't write that in here, but I felt like that's something I wanted to say is the second man in always gets caught. The reaction, the retaliation gets
second
caught.
Second mouse gets the cheese.
That's it. When I seen in that scene, there's a lot of other things, but that was my first thing was the filmmakers trying to show us the contrast here. That first person in the crime, they didn't get caught because they're already written off. They're a criminal. This is a good guy who still can be redeemed, and so of course he's going to be caught because he's got a little boy watching him. He's got to get changed. I don't know. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, he's the first guy that steals it. They find him, and the house he lives in, just as poor. The area that he's with, all the other kind of criminal-minded people who there and like. Kind of show up to protect him, to vouch for him. And the cop's there and goes like, if you want to press charges, you can. You're going to have to testify, but he's going to have 100 people vouching for him. Probably because they're all criminals. That's how they do.
Hear your reaction to that because I felt really good about that character. Remember, Voz, I told you, I said, this guy gets it. This is the kind of cop I want. So
the cop knows the game.
Yeah.
And he's doing an honest, like, I believe you, and you're saying that's for sure him, because we want to know that that's him. He's like, I'm 100% certain that's the guy. He goes, but here's where it's going to get stuck. We don't have the bike to prove it.
Yep.
We don't have enough evidence, and he's going to have all these people vouching for him. It's going to be 70 people's word against yours. So he went as far as he could. He even went to the house. The mom said, take a look. So, okay, we're going to look then. And he did what he could.
I thought the police were portrayed pretty good in those scenes.
Oh, yeah.
He gave him an honest shot. But that's that guy's world. The criminal's world, that's where they live. They live by their own code. They're good at stealing because that's what they do every day. I deal with people enough times where I go, you're not a criminal. That's why you got caught so easily. You don't know the ins and outs or how to hide or how to game it, where that's your game that you play now. Now you're in part of the game. There's enough criminals that we deal with that are like, you know how it is, Jimmy. Like, it's cops and robbers. That's just the game we play. I'm like, I know it's just a game.
Yep.
You guys don't bring this SH to my house.
Yeah.
And we just do this on the clock.
Yeah.
But I play a fair side. You play a non-fair game because that's how it is. My pieces move this way. Your pieces move that way. But so this guy being honest, unfortunately dim, honest guy
Yeah, right,
tries
right.
to play this game that he is not accustomed to,
Yeah,
that's out of
yeah.
his realm. That guy who stole his bike, the criminal, went downhill into a crowd. He spun around, tried to ride uphill. And I'm like, you couldn't have stole a worse.
Brought all sorts of
Yeah,
intention.
went and grabbed a crowd to come and guard
Started a
him.
parade.
Yeah, started a parade. I'm like, this is not how you would do it. He is
Yeah.
not good at following through with. I was like, if you wanted to become a criminal to steal it, you're doing it in the worst way possible. Which is probably a good thing for his morality, but not great for his family
Yeah,
to make any money.
Yeah, that's really good.
But I don't know how to wrap that all in.
No, I don't think you need to.
Okay, so like that's how I saw that scene working out. I'm like, you're going against your own conscience. Some people's conscience has been seared off.
Yeah.
That's just their world they live in.
Yeah.
And they're just as poor as you.
Right.
There's nothing they're gaining from this lifestyle.
Yeah.
But that's where their world is. You try to play in their world, and it's going to bite you.
Yeah.
But he's so far from it that he never thought his bike was going to get stolen.
Right,
I'm like,
he was kind of naive about that.
he was naive about it. Correct. Yeah, I
That's
believe
really
that.
good.
One might say a lack of focus or attention
Lack of focus, lack of attention,
for being so, quote, desperate.
yeah.
But I think desperation can do that, though, too. It can cloud your judgment. It can make you not even... Yeah,
That's where I think that's where he went down the trail when he was at the church and he's shaking the old guy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
where his focus was like, if I threaten this guy enough, he'll give me enough information. If I go down this path hard enough, I see
Yeah.
where that would get him.
Yeah.
That's where the focus got like laser focused here. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not going to get anything from this guy.
No.
And what's your route once you get him? You're going to get him, and like how Italian of them, he's just going to shake him by the collar.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
3 ladies hanging off me.
Right.
I'm going to drag him all the way downstairs out into the alley. Just like this way the whole time.
Uh-huh.
Until I get a crowd and everybody lines up against me. You know.
Gosh.
And unfortunately dim. Some of the situations, it just... I was like, there's 1 million people in this city. And it's Rome, too. So your backdrop
Right.
has...
Oh, yeah.
elaborate architecture with
Yeah.
people struggling for bread, you know. Kind of
Yeah.
neat setting for that.
So this is my perception of the scene. For me, it's the shock and fear on Bruno's face when he sees his father, A, stealing, and B, getting caught. Then seemingly grasping just how desperate his father is. And seeing his father in such a vulnerable and dangerous situation. And picking up his father's hat
Right.
before going over to the mob of people and kind of... You know, he wasn't... at that point, wasn't pleading for his papa because he was pleading before he picked up the hat. It was kind of when they're like, okay, they stopped. Like, where are we going? To jail? You know? And that's when they just see the boy had followed them all the way over. But they see the tears on his face, and you see Antonio's reaction, the embarrassment, the defeat, and the submission. Because with he's walking over, he could have tried to, because there's one guy holding his arm.
Yeah, one guy holding his arm like this.
If he was really wanting to get out of that situation, he could have done more. But he's letting one guy, and then people behind him usher him away, you know, and could be for who knows how long in jail. And so it was, I feel like it was the realization that the real disappointment was not losing the bike, but risking the loss of his son, as in losing himself to crime and prison, leaving his son behind. So I guess exiting fatherhood, you know. So there was hints of Antonio losing this focus as a father. Just right before the scene, Kmax, remember this one? They're crossing the road, and Bruno had to scurry across by himself like a squirrel.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, he almost gets hit twice by cars, and
Antonio doesn't even look back.
doesn't even notice it. Yeah.
But you might recognize this as a callback to the beginning when the bike is first stolen and they get up at the crack of dawn and him and Bruno get off the public transport, the tram, whatever it is, and they're in the middle of the street. Okay, they go to the right. Oh no, this isn't the way, and they go to the left. But they're hand in hand, right next to each other. And so you get that callback at the end where he's lost focus of that, and he's not even looking where Bruno is.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There's also the slap that Antonio receives after being caught stealing the bike. You may also recognize that as a callback to when he slapped Bruno for acting out of line. So kind of he slaps Bruno. Hey, you're acting up. You were asking for it. Who's asking for it now? You know? I also mentioned the retrieval of Antonio's hat because I'm reminded of another movie, Tin Man, Miller's Crossing.
Nothing funnier than a man.
There's nothing sillier than a man chasing his hat. So I apply that to this scene, and now I have the perception that Bruno has such unconditional love for his father that in that situation he saves some of his father's dignity and brings him his hat. So to me, part of why this movie is so effective is that the story is so simple and the plot is so basic. There's room to dive into scenes like this and stay a while and be allowed to feel around and gain insight. So I saw this scene from the lens of a father letting down his son.
There's that scene when Bruno first sees him riding the bike, getting chased by everyone.
You pointed that out.
And it's the only time that the camera, like, it's panning, like it's on a cart, and the kid's following it with his eyes, like, as it's moving. I was like, the only tracking shot they have in that whole movie where it's moving like that is Bruno watching his father be chased by everyone on the bike.
Jeepers. And that's what I pointed out, the fear of shock, the look of fear and shock on his face, like, as he's, like, seeing his dad do this crazy thing that he never thought his dad would probably resort to. So that was my perception of it.
Before we move off that, I wonder if we can take that scene to the end. Or is that beyond the scope of what we were analyzing?
To the end of the movie? That. Like, we'll just go to the next portions?
Because it kind of blends, that scene kind of blends right into that. So with that in mind, I think that I like that it shows you the micro, the world of as Antonio, we said?
Antonio.
His world, it shows his failure. It shows him it tips his hand and shows you how desperate he is and how far he'll go. It shows him having to deal with him and his boy are going to have a conversation now, at some point. It's going to be different than the dinner conversation.
Yeah. Well, Bruno's still going to tell his mama about the slap.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. And but then it almost brings it back to the macro then. At the very end, as they walk away, the two of them are... because when he's being chased, they all have white, lighter clothes, the people that are chasing him. He's got this black... His suit looks even blacker. And he's just really singled out. And then as they walk away... I don't know if it's just shading or the camera work.
Contrast on it.
But it seems like everybody bleeds in. They just fit into the crowd. And now all of a sudden you're seeing... Now here they all are in poverty. The masses just going through their day to day.
Blended together.
And they're no worse. They're no better than anybody else. They're just all in this. There's different levels of desperation, but they're all a mess right now. They all,
Just like when you see the mountains of linen, the Sam's Club of linen.
Yeah.
Same idea.
Okay.
Yep.
That's something I thought was notable, and I didn't realize that until we just watched it tonight at Voz's here. Just now, I was like watching it. I'm like. They almost on purpose. They're all walking, and I like that it's called. What is it?
Realism.
Yeah, because it's just all it is a crowd. There's nothing fan shot. There's no fancy set. They're just walking down the road, but in the shot, more people come into the shot. Next thing you know, it's just a crowd. You don't even see them. They're just all walking away.
And I think it's funny though that it's neorealism, but there's so much symbolism and storytelling tools throughout the movie still. So it's not, to me, it's not exactly realism because you're still trying to manipulate the audience to feel a certain way. I see. So you're putting those symbols in there. You're you're shooting it with different colors and different angles, and so even because I think that's one of the other things that it just tries to depict what's happening rather than focus on editing and fancy movements and everything. It's just showing you things, and it's less about the camera and more about what it's showing you. But that means what it's showing you has to be thought out and important and written. Mm-hmm. So
I do feel that like the amount of like guilt or shame that he had to incur in front of the child was more impactful because of the child crying. They were like, well, you're a good example for your kid here.
That line
and that'll be enough. And it's like
pretty much the only thing that allowed him grace was his child.
Yeah.
Was him being a father was the only thing that allowed him to continue free from jail.
Yeah, a kid who he's starting to just ignore. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Well, let's bleed this right into a callback to fatherhood then.
Okay.
So, the fatherhood was one of our chapters in the first season, but I feel like it was pretty hard to ignore themes of fatherhood in this movie, especially because they even seemed separate from the rest of their own family. Like there's the mother and wife, and she was in the movie for the first part with the newborn, but it became the father and sons movie after that. Mm-hmm. So did you guys have any thoughts on how that was portrayed, or any scenes hit you differently being a father, or is it more just, this is how the movie is?
I do like that they had the son there for some of the scenes because you felt like the stakes were higher having the son with you because he couldn't just leave him in certain places. It seemed like they lived in that area well enough where he could throw him a couple bucks and be like, just jump on the trolley, just jump on the trolley and get back. But him having the son there was almost like a constant reminder that like you have a family that's dependent on you getting this taken care of. Mm-hmm. And I think if they had gotten rid of the son, then it just became like a one man's mission type thing where it's like his family is ever present and noticeable there.
I feel like if the child wasn't there, he probably would have resorted to stealing the bike
sooner than later.
Hours earlier.
Well, I think he might have ganged up with his henchmen and his buddies when they were out looking.
Yeah,
they might have bullied those people to confess, maybe even. You know what I mean? I feel like fatherhood, like it was a huge vehicle in this movie because it shows his detachment. Like he had some mindfulness early on, like you said, when he's holding his son's hand around the trolley cars and stuff. And then by the end, he's running, and the kid's almost getting hit behind him. Right. And he doesn't even look back. He just walks down the stairs, and his son's still
trips in the rain, too.
That's right.
He trips in the rain. He even noticed. He's like, what happened?
Right. He goes, wipe yourself off.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the matter? I fell. Throws the rag, wipes himself off first, and throws him the sweaty rag. There you go. Wipe yourself off.
Yeah.
Clean yourself up, kid.
Yeah, make sure his face is dry first.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, well, wipe yourself off with this wet rag.
The kid is definitely a vehicle to show the audience constantly how far he's coming apart, how much, the things that an idealist like myself says he's just trying to provide for his family, wants to feed his family. You see how little he cares specifically for that boy throughout the movie.
Right. Like, okay, you got your bike back, but your son just got ran over.
Yeah, that's right. Your son's playing Frogger the hard way.
And there was hints of that, too, disappearing, like I said, throughout the movie. And one of them is, he's like, you stay at the stairs. I'm going to go check out the river. And then they say a boy's drowning. Bruno, it's got to be Bruno. And he's running. He finds out it's not Bruno. And then, 30 seconds later, slaps the kid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not long after.
Well, I mean, it's almost like the dad. It's almost timely now. It's like you see dads that point. I don't want to say I'm guilty, but like sometimes you post like an idealistic picture of, hey, this is me and my boy or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, are you doing all the little day-to-day things? Sometimes you're negligent at that, so you feel like you must got to make it up with this grandiose gesture.
And that's what we talked about in the fatherhood chapter, was this portrayal of fatherhood just being. All my job is to go to work, provide money for the family, and then if I can't do that, it's got to be, how do I put it? I gotta kill myself, I guess.
Remember that?
You know,
If I
your
can die
sacrificial
and
something.
make up for all my bad years of being
Right.
a dad, then that was
Right.
a Hollywood answer or something like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
You know, I mentioned Armageddon. You're like, well, he did save the world.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Oh, yeah, fine. He gets one pass.
But like that idea where it was like, well, I guess I got to do something huge to make up for not being a great dad. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of see that here because even Antonio's focus is I got to provide for my family. I got to get a job because that's my purpose. And you look at everyone else, like his wife is doing everything else at home. You know, she cooks, she cleans, she's sewing up his hat. She's
if I'm not mistaken, did she talk to somebody why he was able to get that job? Like they called him out specifically
It was like a
because she
psychic.
had some kind of connection?
No, he saw the same psychic that she. So that woman in town,
Okay.
right? That's what she was referring to in the beginning. They see the same person, but it was like a psychic or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a psychic.
She
Like,
did
Right.
sound like she was praying
Right.
for answers
Right.
and then bestowing the wisdom onto everyone
Right.
for money.
right?
Yeah,
That's what it
yeah,
seemed like.
whatever that was.
I almost felt like
A
it was like
soothsayer.
it was like another level. It was like the organized religion didn't do it. You tried the and,
Yes,
again,
yes,
another
yes.
historical thing, right? There was a great falling away from like Catholicism and like a heavy Catholic area of Rome there, right? Like the heaviest.
Yeah.
So during that time there was a
don't say.
heavy falling away from organized religion there, and it turned into like secularism, even like birth control and things like that. These are things that were new to that society.
Yeah.
And so, when you almost see like a little bit of there's finessing there, but there's almost like a historical stamp there that you can see. These are things that wouldn't have even been considered to be put in film probably before that. Like you go to the poorhouse where the church is organized, but you see how the church is like trying to control them. Like you can get a haircut, you can eat, but you got to sit through the sermon.
Yeah.
If you can't sit down and shut up and listen to the sermon, you can't have any of these things. You got to get out.
Yeah.
So you see a little picture of the church even being another institutional failure for these people. And so then
because law enforcement was there and
Right.
they couldn't help him out, and then
the
organized religion
and the
and
job placement people
job
couldn't help
placement.
everybody else either.
Right.
Even like the communist rally there was a little bit of help, but not much. It wasn't organized. So I felt like all these institutional failures, eventually they had to they got to take this grand slam swing. I'm going to go to this soothsayer here. I'm going to pay money there for this hope, beyond reason.
Yep.
You know, and
I
felt like it was there like on
line.
purpose to show you another level of desperation,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to and I think that's how people see God a lot, unfortunately. It's everything's a soapbox for religion here for me. So it's like I need the genie in the bottle now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not going to be found in this building here or through pageantry. I better go find it this way. Then I better find it that way. And it's not going to work at this church. I better go check at this church.
Right. No, I
Ooh, we're
see
awful.
that.
So with the again though with the fatherhood, we had mentioned when we discussed it about making the just the regular day-to-day things count. You know, in Train to Busan, you know, you just be there for your kid. Just go to their recital.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. We're not asking for the next what do you get her, the Wii or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
You got her some.
you don't have to get her
video
like
game.
a Wii for birthday. Just
Yeah,
go to her
twice.
recital.
Give her
you
two
know?
of them.
Yeah. And again with Hook, lost sight of what made, Peter Banning lost sight of what made his life so happy at one point was the birth of his son, and forgot it. And that was the whole point of the movie, was that he forgot it. He forgot what his happy thought
Forgot
was.
his happy thought. That's right.
So I thought this movie was kind of a cool callback to those movies that we reviewed for fatherhood. And
That's cool.
You know, one was in the 90s, so 30 years ago, and one was less than 10 years ago. So
30 years ago in the 90s.
can you believe that?
Ouch.
But yeah, so making the just the day-to-day things count rather than, you know, because if someone stole your bike, no one's really going to hold that against you. There's thieves in the world, but you neglecting your son while crossing the road and him possibly getting run over is something that is your fault. So yeah, I thought that was a cool callback because we had discussed each of those aspects in the previous
pretty good.
episode.
Man, he has some doozies of some. Even like taking him to that fancy restaurant. We're gonna go eat, buddy. Let's go eat.
Yeah.
Well, so funny you say that. I wanted to mention too. It captured that moment too. Like I don't know about you guys, but growing up,
there's a cure for everything.
you get
Except for death.
those little moments with a parent one-on-one. You know, like you're treating me to like a toy in McDonald's or something. Like we don't ever do this, but because like one parent's taking you out or whatever, and so I thought it captured that pretty well too. Like, how about a pizza? And the kid's eyes light up.
It was mozzarella. It's not mozzarella sandwich. It was mozzarella something or other, right?
I think it was a sandwich, wasn't it?
Was it mozzarella sandwiches? Because he's like all stretched out the cheese.
Yeah, that cheese. Yeah, that looked good.
It did look good. Darn it.
And then some
But-
smug ass kid in the table over there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that face was like a turtle on Looney Tunes or something.
I know exactly the face you're talking about. You brought it up when we were watching it. I'm like, yep.
It's like,
Yep, it was the turtle.
make that face, kid. And he's just like,
I'm gonna find it
this
right
one.
now.
Like,
Yeah, it was more like this one.
yeah.
You mean this one?
But because he's like, all right, we're gonna eat whatever they eat, and then he's like, it costs like $1 million a day to eat like that.
It was like $1 million. It was lira, but it was like $1 million lira for that.
Like, well, what are you doing then?
Yeah.
Why? And that'll lead to some of my theme in a little bit, but
We'll cut this out in post.
they did not cut it out. All right, so any emotional impacts this movie had on you guys? Because I feel like, I guess I'll go first then. So my first viewing, a lot of the moments of anything that had to do with letting down your kid were kind of like, ooh, that one struck a chord there. But then as I was picking up more and more instances of Antonio making poor decisions or misuse of things, I don't want to go too deep there, I started to not react so emotionally to anything, to any choice that he was making, we'll say.
Okay.
So like
It was less impactful after some of the poor choices?
Right.
Okay.
So I think the biggest, though, emotional impact I had, or reaction, was when he sought his dad's hand at the end after getting caught stealing the bike. So he was the one, like the kid was the one.
The walk of shame?
Yeah. Yeah. Not that kind of walk of shame either.
What do you mean? I don't know what you mean.
But yeah, when they're walking, they everyone's kind of blending together. He reaches up and he grabs his dad's hand, and so that support from your family is something that can't be matched by anything. I feel like fathers know that feeling, but I think that was the strongest emotional reaction I had, because, like I said, there are other things earlier in the movie, but they started to fade pretty quick once you're seeing decision after decision after decision from this guy.
Right. I feel the same way. I'll say that idea of hitching her wagon to a dying horse feel, where he's wanting so desperately to find this bike, because then he can kind of keep this established setup of him not being so great, getting to where he was almost out of luck that he got this, and then it so easily fell from his hands that I don't know if he didn't deserve it or not. But I have that feeling sometimes where I'm like, ooh, I dropped the ball on that one. And I got to go bring it to my family, who's going to be upset. Or it's like oh,
yeah.
you were supposed to do this for your kid and sign them up, and I missed it. And I'm like,
gosh.
oh, now I gotta eat the
And then,
shame
and
from
then to
the
turn around
family
and
on
tell
the way
your
back.
kid too,
Yeah.
like, sorry, buddy, like
Yep,
you're not
yep.
you're not going to be on the team this year. You know,
Something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Cecil Turtle.
There it is. We got a
Just
reversal of
smug.
roles here. Kmax with the
If you wonder why I've been silent the last 4.35, it's I've been looking for that turtle face. I knew exactly it. That is the face.
say it again, Kmax. What?
Cecil Turtle.
Okay,
From Looney Tunes. And interactions with Bugs Bunny, Warner Brothers, Cecil Turtle. That
I remember
face.
him racing Bugs.
Oh yeah.
But that face, and it's funny because when we saw it, we both said it. We didn't know who it was, but we both brought it up like that face looking back,
Yeah.
eating the cheese, looking at the kid, and
Yep.
like,
Yep.
turn around, Cecil Turtle.
I wonder if there's any actual connection. Like,
Can you imagine?
Yeah. If they're
they're
just
like,
like
that's the smug face from this smug rich family that this turtle's going to have the same
that,
persona.
Can you
That's
imagine?
not, that's not Chuck Jones, is it? Is that who the illustrators?
Because
Let me see.
everything just worked out for
You're
this
just like,
family.
that's the face I'm looking for right there.
the same way that it always works out
Yeah.
for this turtle.
It's like Ron Swanson. Boom. Melancholy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And this is the episode Boz is talking about, the one where he's racing Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
I recognize that. It's an old one too. Bugs looks even different in it.
Yep, that's right.
If it came out any time around 1948, we know
my gosh.
we might
It's
have
like,
something.
that's the face.
I got to turn it off there because I can't stop looking at it. I want to get a picture of them side
It's
by
like a
side.
straight up rotoscope of it.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I thought of that kid's face when that soothsayer lady's like, "You're ugly." Go sow your what do you say?
Like,
Go
you
sow
need to find a farm.
Go sow a different field because you're ugly.
Yes.
I was like, that guy wasn't that ugly compared to this kid.
I know, seriously. That kid looking back, I'm like,
Well, K-Max, did you have any emotional reactions to scenes here?
oh my gosh, of course. Anytime, it's like the worst fear, right, as a dad is letting your kids down. It's like the worst fear. And I think Tin Man summed it up best, just saying, part of being a dad is that constant fear. And talking to my pushing 80-year-old dad, it doesn't go away. You always fear letting your kids down. It's a constant and ever-present part of it. After you become a dad, it's like, I don't want to say it drives me, because there's other things like love and accountability that drive me to be a good dad, but fearing letting them down is a big one. That look on Bruno's face, ever having my kids having it, and they probably had it dozens of times with me. But I work to lower the percentages. Every day I get up and try to lower the percentages that they got to look at that, and just being a general dad and all, and then look at the accountability of being a dad trying to set the example, and like faith-wise even too. It's like, wow, I'll count dozens of times a day that I let you down that way. It's like, you see a dad you perceive doing it right, and you're like, oh, but then that dad probably lets their kid down just as many times.
Yeah, the steps that were made to get to that point also. But I think that's why in the scene that I mentioned where the kid grabs his father's hand, that unconditional love came after this father disappointed his son so badly, brought the kid to tears, and the kid's pleading for his papa and for his kid to approach him and hold his hand.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh wow, see, like even if you do fail, they're still gonna love you.
I think the kid demonstrated that on two levels, right? You give him his hat. I grabbed your hat for you. Here's your hat. Here's your crown back, king. And then you have my love too.
Yeah.
Here's my hand.
Right.
It's like, you wonder if that would wake up this dad to say, I got to sharpen up a little bit.
Yeah.
It did not.
It didn't. the
my
voice
Ron
of,
Howard
Yep, Ron Howard voice.
Arrested Development.
It didn't.
It did not.
Things had to change. They didn't.
Or Scott Pilgrim. The voice in Scott Pilgrim is actually Bill Hader.
I knew that.
I didn't know that till like last week.
I don't know how I knew that.
The things you learn here.
Yeah. There you go out there, audience.
Like there are more fatherhood things, but I think that's a big one. Is you put yourself in the shoes of that dad, and I think if I can be honest, there's a lot of reasons why I give a grace to that character, and it's because I can relate to that fear of what if my kids, at the end of the day, I have to provide for them. I have to, I have to. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I have to, and there's a fear of that sometimes. It's like, what if I lose my job? What if I can't work? What if I do? You think to yourself all the time, college, even when they get older, you're like, did I put enough away? Did I make enough good decisions? Or did I make, when is the time coming? You're almost waiting for the other shoe to drop that they see me as the fraud that I am. I'm just a goofy 53-year-old guy figuring it out like they are. I'm no different than that 16-year-old kid, but I just have some job opportunities. I went to college a little bit and yeah, but I'm still that kid, and I'm terrified of letting him down, and
I think it's so tough too to let go of that anxiety and mindset too, because I mean all three of us are married and we've been with our significant others for some time now, and they're there to also with the same goal to support and raise the children. But I feel like there's a lot of times where we feel so isolated and alone to accomplish that goal. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's interesting. I wish I could shake it. I wish I could shake it, But let's move forward with why we actually chose this one for our poverty chapter and relate this movie back to our discussion last episode. So we had talked about where we are as an audience when it comes to a movie about poverty, and obviously this movie we're right behind Antonio and Bruno, and the idea that we're striving to get on the other side, we're striving to get rich, but then that journey kind of bordering on also becoming a villain. You're trying to get out of poverty, you're trying to get wealthy, and in Antonio's case, relating back to our previous episode anyway, becomes a thief himself and breaks the law and is looking to ruin someone else's day in doing so. So the rat race turning him into potentially villainous character, and stealing someone else's bike and being that what's the opposite of mindful?
Ignorant?
That neglectful of other people's struggles and just doing what it takes, very because it turns from desperate almost into selfish. And when you see it on the screen, selfish characters are not good guys. Right. And so then we also had the idea of, we talked about social movement, whether there is or isn't. And so we have this idea of trying to get out and trying to escape poverty and being sucked back in because it's an escapable pit of poverty. And you had this throughout the entire movie. And Kmax, you had mentioned it, kind of the idea of, he's trying to escape on a stolen bike, and this mob, much like a zombie horde, gets to him and swallows him up and chews him up.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Toy Story. They're stuck at Pizza Planet.
Oh, yeah.
With the aliens, and they're trying to get out, and the aliens just suck him back in. He's like, get off me, you zealots.
Zealous, that's right.
So like that's what it reminded me of. It was like, nope, you're one of us now. Accept your fate with us, you know.
Get off me, you zealots.
So it's bicycle thieves, plural. There's only one in the beginning, and one in the end.
I do have.
And I got
knock it off.
I feel something about that term too. That's a little different.
And we have we had talked about the relevance of wealth to happiness, and I think, and then as well as realism, realistic portrayals of poverty in movies. And I think this is actually pretty far up the list of accurate portrayals. Obviously it's supposed to be but it's this idea that it's kind of actually, yes, the more wealthy you are, the more happy you are going to be. Because the people that say otherwise already have the money. So you can see these people just not being happy because they have no wealth. They don't have a job, they don't have this, they don't have that. And the moment that Antonio gets that job, there's instant happiness and instant affection, when they get the bike back and, she's riding on his lap on the bike and they're going to go see a woman in town, and there's instant feeling of happiness. Tin Man even pointed out, like, that's one of our only warm moments of the movie.
That's right.
Because
he even got flirty. He's like, "You got to take my hat in."
Right. Yeah. And then once his bike is stolen, it's not explicitly said that he lost his job, but obviously if you don't have a bike, you can't do the job. But there goes his happiness. And obviously no money at the same time. So kind of this idea that, well, you know what? It is kind of an accurate portrayal because, wealth and money can't explicitly buy you happiness, but it affords you all the things to make you happy. That even goes as basic as, oh, well, you can feed your family. That makes you happy, right?
Right. Not being hungry helps you be
a
little happier.
It certainly helps.
Yeah.
And so those were some of the main points I remembered from our last discussion that fit this movie. Could you guys add to that at all, or any other thoughts from last episode pop up here?
It's in my notes. What was last episode?
Well, I think to myself, like, the idea of, like, we talked a lot about, like, the difference between...
Oh, hell or high water. Okay.
Yeah, we talked about, like...
Poverty. Poverty was last episode.
Was it just poverty?
So, like, the idea of, are you helping yourself out? Are there social constructs? Are there institutional failures that are roadblocks to you being successfully unpoor? And in this particular one, I found myself wrestling with that because the history is like one of the hallmarks of this region during this time of period in the history of the world is poverty and transition, mm-hmm. and loss and hopelessness, and relying on foreign folks to bail you out and give you your day-to-day subsistence. That's a tricky place to be in. Then you add the dynamic of being a dad, where you're the breadwinner, especially in like this traditional family. Some of the things they say, right? Some of the things that they say is, you would say, oh, that's real sexist or that's chauvinist or whatever. But like 1948, this is a kind of how things, the dynamics were at the time. And, but then you had the woman making the good decisions, saying, almost like pulling for him, believing in him. And then, taking the hat in and being excited for him and, helping him get his bike out of hock, mm-hmm. and even telling him, But then him firing back almost defensively. Well, you had to eat, didn't you? Well, how was I going to feed you? You know, I had to do it. I had to hawk the bike out. And but her seeing the big picture, you know, I couldn't help but think to myself of, like, when we get to my theme, and I'm going to give that away totally because it talks about, like, the theme of poverty, but like institutional failures that lead to poverty. Because I always think you can look at it two ways, and the answer is usually somewhere in the middle. There's some, of course, personal accountability when it comes to poverty, but I think that that's too dismissive. I think that lets societal failures off the hook to say, you could have done better. Yeah, I could have done better. And you could have not been burned on third. You know what I mean? Because I think we do that a lot in Western civilization. The haves do that to the have-nots a lot. And even the haves a little bit more. Even the haves very little do that a lot to the haves a little bit less a lot. In fact, I'll go so far as to say people that are in the struggle, it's the can of worms thing. When you see someone making it out of poverty, you should be their biggest cheerleader if you're also in poverty with them. And yet, very often, it works the opposite way.
Yeah, you see that in the beginning of this movie, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, he can't do it. Give the job to me. He just said he doesn't have a bike.
Yeah. And I like how the film intermingles, like, grace in that, too, because then the one guy goes and gets the buddy. He goes, get up here, they're calling your name, Jack. He didn't say jackass, but that's what I would say.
Yeah.
They're calling your name, and he brings him up there and says,
what are you, deaf?
Yeah.
That's what he says.
He didn't have to do
They're
that.
calling your name. Yeah.
Just the same way at the end where the guy didn't have to say, I don't want any trouble, you're good to go. So there was pictures of, like, systematic oppression a little bit, like institutional failure that led to oppression. But there was instances of grace along the way throughout the whole movie. I thought that was kind of neat. Just to show you that contrast, I guess, maybe.
I think, and this again, it'll relate, I think, to my theme pretty heavily, but we also had talked about the idea of movies kind of offering a way out of poverty in the way of a miracle. You know, a genie giving you 3 wishes and you become a prince, you're magically out of poverty. Oh, you won the lottery, you're out of poverty. Oh, you married rich, you're out of poverty. Oh, you discovered you're actually a princess, you move on up.
Yeah.
And so this movie dispels any of that. And kind of you mentioned the borderline, though, because if that guy never came to Antonio and said, hey, they're calling your name, go get a job, he would have been sitting there, never heard his name, and another day without a job. So to me, it kind of highlighted that, hey, poverty's SOB, and to get out of it, you're going to have to do some work, and it's going to take some luck also, but you are going to have to work and stay attentive to overcome this, because it is a monster of a thing to get out of.
Especially when all the other guys are right there waiting to see if they have a job, and they're like, is there a lathe operator? Is there bricklayers? No, we need a poster gluer.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's something you don't actually need any because the guy was like, here, you put a coat of paint, you put a coat of blue or glue, put the poster, another coat, and you're done.
And make
It
sure it's
does
smooth.
the whole
Yeah.
training in 30 seconds.
He's a poster. So like,
Yeah.
So
The only word we got for you.
but I also thought of the cyclical nature of poverty also, where it's, you get to a certain point and you're about to come out of it, and then we talked about mindset a lot last episode, and the whole mindset of, well, you got money, spend money, and then there's no investment, there's no the cyclical nature of getting the money, spending the money. Now you're back to square one,
check to check.
Yeah, and so we see this in this movie. You didn't have to spend all that money at lunch for your kid, but you spent all your money at lunch for your kid, and then you spent more money on the psychic, and then you're spending a couple bucks here. You're doing this instead of that, and so that mindset of giving away your resources and misusing them. I'm going to stop with that because that's going to ruin my theme.
I shouldn't have said that.
I should not have said that. So yeah, I feel like it's very in tune with how our discussion was last week in multiple ways. But I guess now I'm going to do symbolism first. Anyone want to go first for symbolism?
Yeah, I had very little. So so I've seen this movie. I watched this movie one time prior to coming over here, and I just keeping up with the plot, with it being black and white, Italian, kind of ate up any bit of whatever symbolism I think I was looking at. The only thing that showed up was the poster of Rita Hayworth, which I had nothing. I know Chris has probably a little deeper level than I do on this, but I was just like, oh, hey, I know who Rita Hayworth is. And that was... it seemed poignant in the moment that was being put up as the poster he needed to paint. And then I went on by as soon as the bike got stolen.
I think Kmax does have explanation for that.
Perfect.
As well.
On to you.
No, I think that was one of the ones that I thought too. And when Tin Man brought that up, I thought, oh, cool. It's not nothing groundbreaking, just the glitz and glamour. It's almost like gilded, like the Gilded Age. It's like the fancy veneer, the contrast of in the middle of all this poverty. Here's your job, and your job happens to be putting posters around this
of a movie star,
and even remember when the one guy says, "Hey, I'm taking your job." And he was like showing him putting up in the little movie house there with the little local play,
like in the Florida Project, having Disney World right here, but not really.
It's kind of like showing
accessible.
I feel like this movie was masterful in creating contrasts like that, and who bigger than like the biggest star at the time in the '40s, Rita Hayworth, this beautiful American actress, and just symbolizing everything about unpoverty, wealth, and excess.
Well, I think it's interesting too because I had mentioned this this film style of neorealism being the opposite of like Hollywood. How pictures were made here compared to there, and it was kind of an on-screen reaction to how Hollywood movies are, the glitz and glamour and the superstars and the red carpets and the parties and the just the beauty and the actresses and the just the whole extravagance of Hollywood.
What gave me it's like Robin Leach's Homes of the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. People saying the rock star. There's MTV Cribs, like just how the famous live. What's the contrast to that? Well, how do the poor live?
Right, and so it wasn't like, well, we're not going to show movie stars, but we'll give here's a poster of some. So I like that. I like that.
I like that. I mean, when Tin Man said it, I was like, yes, I'm glad because it was my first one on there. You know what I mean? I just thought right away, just contrasts, but you have all this poverty, the irony of here's your job, put this up
and it's
there.
American too, right?
Yeah.
America.
Well, I mean, it's like, and honestly, it's almost like also, it's. I looked at it, and I might be reaching or seeing things that aren't there, but the same way that in the church, if you want the food and the haircut, you got to go hear the sermon.
It's interesting because I'm going to bring up my observation. That was the word I was looking for.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to bring up my observation and my perception of that same.
Cool.
Oh, you want food? Well, listen to this first. I'm going to offer something.
That's so cool.
Different perception of that.
Because I feel like with this, it's like, okay, you want to have a job, and it's just go a bridge too far. I already know what it is, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. So it's like the Marshall Plan. All right, America saying, you want our aid? You better become democratic and not communist. And let me just show you about the free market system and capitalism. Here's Rita Hayworth.
Yeah.
So you better spread the word about capitalism and democracy and free market and Western civilization over the East.
That's cool, though, what a historical context does for the perception of a movie like this, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Propaganda.
Yeah, right, right.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Well, honest to goodness, yes. And that was a very real thing. Like, those jobs right there wasn't surprising at all to me because they're Americanizing it. It's almost like, you get movies like, in books like 1984 and, things that talk about...
Something of the Brave.
right.
Brave New World.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. No, I think to myself that the movie was probably ahead of its time as far as using even approaching something like propaganda like that in a very, very indirect way.
Yeah.
I thought they definitely were.
In 1946. That's
48.
Oh, this was 48.
Yeah.
But the book it was based on a book that was written in 46 though.
Oh, okay.
So the original story was 46, like right near the end. You know what I mean?
Okay. Because I thought I was reading that it must have took place in 1946.
Right. So the book was based on, like the history of that point in time. But the movie came out in 48, I believe.
Okay.
But it's funny how they had probably 9 screenwriters who adapted the book. It seems excessive to me. I don't know. I don't know anything about it behind that, but there was a lot of...
For it being such a tight story, 9 writers, that's wild.
Yeah,
that's not a 9-writer story.
Well, if you're not picking up any symbolism.
Well, that's exactly it. That's the thing about it, though, is the more I get some tools, the more I realize these people are all sitting in a room probably saying, here's how we can say that. Here's how we can make them feel this. Let's not do it that way. Let's show it this way. Let's be a little more subtle about it.
Like I said, everything's on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's crazy, though, having 9 writers to have it like that. Because usually the more hands in the pot, the more scatterbrained it gets.
It can be.
It seems like it's like one person's idea, and then others try to help it come to fruition.
Yeah.
But that seems like a one person.
Well, to
idea.
me,
I agree.
How it's
you have these characters that all you're doing is seeing their personalities and emotions. You're not putting them through, there's no gunfights, there's no chase scenes. Well, like the chase scenes we're used to. There's no action.
Borderline gratuitous.
So we're depending on these writers writing these characters as truthfully as possible to regular people. And so if you only have one writer writing all of these people, you can only imagine that they may start to look the same, or they may not be as realistic or as diverse as you could get in actual 1940s Italy.
It's funny. I had one that's a very big reach, but I probably should let you do. I already said one, I think, but I have one, just a language thing.
Do it.
Italian. The brand of the bike. Do you remember the name of the brand of the bike?
Fides. I don't remember how to pronounce it. Though,
So that was the name of it, and that word stands for hope in Italian.
Really?
And honestly, it actually means faith. Fides is faith in Italian.
Yeah. Oh,
it's it's funny because these little missions conferences stuff, you learn little bits of languages in case you find yourself in Italy. Sorry, I go to other places. Here's some French in case you got to share the gospel in French. Yeah, I'm not going to Paris. I wish I was. But anyway, when I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute. So the symbol of the bicycle is a symbol of hope, right? Because if you have a bike, you can have this job.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have my bike. I don't have it there. And so the whole film is about this guy. All is lost because I lost my bike, right? A symbol of hope and mobility, right? I can even change classes. I can. Let's go, Tracy Chapman. Give me a fast car. Is it fast enough to get me out of here?
Yeah.
I think Luke Combs covered it or whatever, made the song famous again. That song by Tracy Chapman, "Fast Car." Same principle. Give me a fast bike. Is it fast enough to get me out of here? We got to make a decision. Leave today or live and die this way. It's like a desperate move. I have this vehicle of faith and hope. can transform my family from poverty to wealth. And it can even maybe make us jump a class. It can give us upward mobility. And maybe not. But I thought that the name, because they bring up the name several times.
Because that's the frame they're trying to look for.
Yeah,
that
they're looking for that
frame.
frame. And the name is, it's not just a throwaway line. And I felt pretty clever when I thought about that. And when Voz says symbolism, I'm like, oh, I got it right here.
That's a good one.
But I don't even know if it is a good one. But I think that's on purpose.
I like it.
Oh,
everything is on
purpose. Everything's
But,
on purpose.
But whenever...
Nevin said that, by the way, today. We weren't talking about this movie. He just mentioned that we were talking about literature. And he goes, my friend, everything's on purpose. And I'm like, you're going to make the podcast tonight. You horse's ass. You're going to make the podcast tonight. I'm translating for him so he can understand what we're saying. There you are. That's for him. He knows.
Lost my train of thought now.
I'm sorry.
I wish I had a cool one like that.
No, yours was, you had my number one, was the Rita Hayworth poster.
It's because I took it from you before we started recording. You spilled the beans.
Hey, boy,
Tipped your hand too soon.
Yeah, I was like, any thoughts on symbolism? You're like, I'll go first.
Yeah, I call it. I call Rita Hayworth.
To even dive deep.
I can see it. It says
Rita
number,
Hayworth.
number
everybody.
one with a bullet over it. I can read it. I can read it on his notes from here.
This is the only thing I'm sure of all night.
He even added like, someone might have something more to do with this, but I at least got the title.
Yep.
It's Rita.
Go ahead, piggyback
Rita,
off that
everybody.
if you want.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So mine kind of seeps from that idea, though, of hope. So I'll go with a bike then. So the bike, traditionally, it's kind of a symbol for progress or innovation, i.e., the wheel. And the hope feeds into this section as well. So the idea of this thief taking the bike is kind of giving you the idea of taking away progression, taking away that hope of escaping poverty. And then, so, obviously throughout the movie, we see, there's bikes everywhere. So the idea of thousands of bikes and bike parts strewn across the city, to me, it was a little bit of Antonio not seeing the forest for the trees, I guess. Or, not seeing, there's hope all around you. There's progression all around you. There's ways to escape poverty all around you. But it's up to you to get that hope back. It's up to you to be the innovator and do it yourself. So when he pawned the bike, before we even start the movie, the bike was probably his best resources, the bike was probably his best resource, right? And he sold it. He mentioned, well, you guys wanted to eat, right? So we wouldn't have eaten if I didn't pawn the bike. And so it's that idea of the immediate payoff. You got rid of your best resource so you could have one meal. So to me, that's not the best use of this bike. And so, if you relate that to hope and progress, it's like you sold your soul to the devil for a donut.
And might we infer that he would be reckless and it wasn't all just for the meal?
Right.
I mean, is it fair to infer that about this guy?
He's been shown to be imprudent in other situations.
That works into the idea of this mindset, though, that we brought up last episode, of that mindset of being reckless. You had mentioned your family member. I think you said your grandmother. Someone you mentioned where it was like, oh yeah, that's how we did it.
Yep.
That was just our way of thinking.
Yeah.
We got it.
Whatever they got that day that was extra, they were like not banking on it being there tomorrow, so might as well spend it right now while we can. So everyone's going out to dinner kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
See a lot of that though, right? I know I do too.
Yep. And then so the idea that the thief remains anonymous is a connotation of the problem being systemic as well. But at the end, I feel like it put a stamp on the bike as a theme or a bike as a symbol. It almost looks like there's a bike race going on. Everyone's using their bike to go. And so to me, it kind of spoke as if, the movie's telling you that everyone is going through something. Everyone's got a bike, selling bike parts. So the idea of Antonio stealing a bike, it's, you got the title Bicycle Thieves. He's almost a thief of his own progression. He's, you're stealing a bike and you get caught. And now what? You're doomed to stay in this level forever. And throughout the movie, you're shown multiple times. He encounters people that are in their own struggle. They go up to the guy painting the bike. That's my bike. That's my bike. And they look at it. Nope, it's a different bike altogether. Oh, this guy stole my bike here. When he goes to the guy at his house and he has a seizure or whatever. It's like, oh, well, didn't know he was sick, did you? So it was a lot of moments like that where he's going up to people, making accusations, and they're all going through their own struggles. And so at the end, you see, at the same time that he's about to steal this bike, there's the juxtaposition of this bike by itself, as in him in his own world, right next to this busy road of countless people on bikes, riding and going to work, going to wherever.
We were all leaving the
soccer match. And so it's just this idea that, yes, everyone's got their own struggles here. And you're stuck in your own world,
Man, that's interesting.
Because they show you got I think I mentioned before, the idea of the 180-degree plane when filming, right? So you typically don't want to switch from looking north to looking south, that idea. So you see one direction is the stadium and all the bikes, and then it breaks that plane and looks behind, and it's just him in his own world thinking about stealing this bike.
Yeah.
So, again, this guy, today's language, he's not the main character.
Boy. I just heard that today for the first time.
Not giving off main character energy right now. Yeah.
So it's like everyone's got their own struggles. What makes you so special? And you see this come up time and time again. He makes accusation. Well, I'm just trying to sell this bike. I'm painting this bike so it can be sold. And you're here telling me that I stole it. So you see instances like that through the movie. So that's why when it says Bicycle Thieves, I've seen it translated as Bicycle Thief, the Bicycle Thief, but in most literature about the movie, I see it translated as Bicycle Thieves, and I think that's the more correct title because it's referring not only to when Antonio had his bike stolen, but when he's part of the problem now too.
Amazing. That was great. I love that one. I am leaning towards that though. Like not so much the lack of the establishment taking care of its people, but that everyone's kind of struggling. Like there's not people dying in the street.
Right.
Oh, you want me to keep talking?
Yeah.
But there's not like there's people dying in the street, but it's everyone's kind of at this low level. They're not doing great, but they're getting by.
Right.
Yeah, they're getting by.
They're just trying to make it. And I think it highlights Antonio's lack of focus or responsibility.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah.
You know, he should be more responsible with this opportunity.
He should
that he's
be
gotten.
more concerned than he is.
So that's what I had for the bike throughout the movie there.
I like that, though. I really do like that, because that does kind of highlight the struggle that everyone's kind of having. And he pawned off his main resource, which is why he got the job. Oh, this the only thing that says required is you have a bike. Make sure you have your bike. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't have it right now. Well, I've got to give it to someone else.
Yeah.
Because you got no skills, apparently. He's got no skills other than bike rider, bike owner. You know, like that's your...
Yeah, he can't put up a poster, right? Did you see how crinkled up it was?
That's true. He had 1,000 of them, and he barely got one up.
Yeah.
So I do feel bad for him in the fact that he's dumb. No, I don't want to say it like that, but yeah.
I'm sorry, but you're never going to leave poverty. Like,
yeah,
that's...
like how I don't feel bad for Haley in
Florida Project,
where she's kind of making her own issues. Like, I'm like, whatever someone's giving you or granting you or doing you a solid, like Willem Dafoe was, I was like, you're trying to spit in his face for it. And you're mad at everyone else for not allowing you to steal from them. Like, he's not in her category as far as the criminal element of it, but he is in the fact that, like, you're going to just build yourself the same. You're digging a hole for yourself while doing this. Mm. He's not. He means well, but he's just one of those guys where you're like, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to work out well for you, and you're going to be, poor me. But in the end, you did not make smart choices. Society does suck across the board, but people are making do. You're just making poor choices. Mm. So I don't know what that says about him in the story, though.
I guess we'll see in a minute.
Yeah.
But the other symbol I wanted to talk about anyway was the use of hats.
I thought that too. Oh.
We had Hell or High Water had some hat symbolism,
they did.
And I feel like this one had some as well. So he got his new cap, right, for his job, and it's probably a little bit of foreshadowing as well, but it doesn't fit. Much like he's not going to be a fit for this position. And then I kind of related it to today as well, because you talk about some people in poverty. This is some people, there's a whole range of impoverished, but you see some people with the newest iPhone, the newest Jordans, the newest this, that, chains and rims on the cars, but can't afford groceries, can't, get the gas to get to work, can't go to work, can't, all this other stuff. And so I feel like the use of the hat was almost similar to that, where it's, well, if you're so impoverished, why do you have this nice hat to go with your outfit? Then maybe it's a standard for society, the gentleman in society to wear a hat like that. But same answer, same question. Why do you have you pawned off a bike, you pawned off your linens, you can't, how about your clothes then? I mean, why?
Like the missus was willing to throw in her lot.
She took the linens off her own bed, I thought, right?
Yeah,
it was her bed.
That's what she was given for their wedding. I guess she called it a dowry, so I don't know if it's because they were getting married, so her family gave that to them, and then pawned off what she could do to make sure that he could work the job, because all he needed was that. And he's like, well, we can survive without the sheets.
Right. And so when he wears that hat, like, that becomes his identity. That's, you're part of the impoverished.
Ah, okay.
And you see the stamp of that at the end when the kid grabs the hat for him and gives it back to him. It's kind of like, kind of a generational thing next. And again, Hell or High Water talked about that. But that becomes his identity. The other hat that he had was supposed to move him on up. It was nicer. It was sleeker. She said it made him look like a cop. But it didn't fit. And they had to force it to fit. And so right there it tells you, like, this isn't for you. You know, you're not meant to break out of here. Here's your hat that does fit.
Yeah.
You know?
I thought it was a euphemism when he had. I'm an idiot. When he got the job and they were on the bike and he's like, "I got a hat and you're gonna take it in." I thought, I'm sorry, I quit. Can we delete that?
Can we delete it?
He's like, "It doesn't fit. You're gonna have to take it in." And I thought,
He's got a hat on.
Yeah.
Looks like you got a hat on there.
Please delete that. I'm so tired right now. But I had that as one too, and then I had the sheets were as a symbol. The sheets, right? Mm-hmm. And then I talked about that as one of my favorite scenes. Is you see all these sheets, you see a symbol of there's widespread poverty. This isn't just the one couple that has to get desperate to give this. There's been thousands of these people in this same thing. So again, I probably give more grace to Antonio than most because I think he's like just a picture of the desperation, and sure he's making bad choices. But I think poverty does that to you too, man. You don't think as clearly. You're not as refined. You're not as prepared for, and you're more desperate. You've probably been in more extreme. You probably had to make the best of things with limited things more than most. And, we don't know the rest of his story. Again, I feel like I'm making excuses for the guy. But we don't know why he was over doing his own thing there. You know, there might, because with poverty, and like even historically.
You mean while he was lounging by the rocks?
Or
they might have been
maybe having some PTSD from being a war soldier.
It's possible. Possible.
We don't know that. I mean, because at that time, if you were having an agency, you weren't even eligible for that unless you were a veteran, or like you had a former office. If you were just a peasant, you were just SOL. So all those people that had an office at some point in time, they had ambition, they had opportunities.
You were cutting Haley leeway too.
I mean, yeah.
I'm like, no. I'm not giving her that.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, like, when we get to my theme, you'll see why I believe that.
Well, let's move into it.
Yeah.
Themes.
Mine's pretty simple. Institutional failures lead to personal crisis. They always have. They always will. And there'll always be people who don't believe that. It's true. I mean, it's why we have Democrats and Republicans. That's why we have conservatives and liberals, because all along that continuum, you have people. You have poverty. You have wealth. You have poverty. You have opportunity. You have, marginalization. You have privilege. I can say is a dirty word. You have privilege. You have disadvantage, and all along there, it lays. That's where people are, and one of the hardest things to get in society is to get anybody who's here to understand here, or here to understand here.
You mean seeing things from another
perspective? Honest to goodness, it's one of the hardest things to do as far as like socioeconomic status. I can't relate to the very rich, and I can't relate to the very poor. I can come a lot closer to relating to the very poor than I can to the very rich. But like, it's one of the hardest things to do is to marry that, is to get people to understand where they're coming from. And I wonder if that's what the filmmaker was trying to do here, is trying to like maybe make it a little cloudy. You know what I mean? Like, you're making a film in an area of the world. I think if I was reading it right, like how much it cost to make, and what they made like triple the amount that the film made it triple the amount that it cost to make.
Well, I mean, that's part of it, is like with neorealism, you would think, okay, we're not going to make any huge statements here. We're just going to show life as it is. And then you, the audience, can make the connection between why life is this way.
Yeah.
And you can back it up with whatever you think at the time, because, at the time, contemporary, politics and world wars and all that, you can make your own connections, and you can see its effects on Italy at this time. But we've kind of also said, well, here's filmmakers making money,
yeah, right,
millions of dollars, saying, well, yeah, here's what it's like to be impoverished.
Right.
Making triple whatever.
Right. I think about like the theme there, the institutions that failed the folks that end up leading to the personal crisis of our protagonist Antonio. You have the employment office, so the government agency that's in charge of finding work for folks. And then you have not all the police, but some of the police when they go there saying, "You're never going to find this." Mm-hmm. You fill out the report. Did you do this? And then I got called to a meeting. I got to go. Well, but I was glad that they showed two instances of great protectance for folks. The one that said, "Just let them see your bike. Let them take a look at it," and then the one at the end saying, the one that was like investigating the house, saying, and then breaking it down from taking him to the side, almost saving face for him, saying, "You can do this, and you're within your right.
Here's
to
your
do
situation.
Yeah, and
like you may be right.
I love
here's
that
how it
approach.
goes.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, I wish that was like part of like police training. It's like employ this
right now.
Talk to them like they're real people.
When I do, that's what I'm doing now.
That's huge.
Is like, listen, if you explain everything as transparently as possible, and then let them know what the choices are, or percentages of how this could work out based on evidence, blah 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 blah. Like them knowing that you have an open door for that, they may or may not take it, which is up to them.
Yeah.
But giving them the options honestly, they're appreciative of it.
And when I saw that on this film from 48, I was thinking, that's awesome. I'm glad. I got goosebumps. I'm really glad.
I didn't know what their role was supposed to be in it, and it was just kind of like him trying to go through an honest route. And it not working out for him, though. But
yeah,
I think that's...
I thought it was real cool to see it painted that way, even though that was one of the institutions that failed him, because I don't know how they would do it, but they could have been... That particular officer could have been more diligent than saying, I got to go, I'm sorry. We did what we could do, we took it. You're probably not going to find him anyway. There's a lot of bikes out there. And then the church failed him, he went to the place there, and if, one way or another, it just showed these institutions failing him. And then, the Communist Party, failing him. And then even like, so these institutions that tend to take care of people and tend to give opportunities and all of them were broken a little bit. They were all not functioning well. I think all of that was a function of that nation being broken at the time. It was a time when that nation was broken. And so maybe what it does is it shows a light even closer at Antonio's character and his flaws. And that's probably what the filmmaker was doing. Right below my nose, right under my nose, doing that. Making me feel like, this guy, he wants to work. He doesn't have a bike. Okay, get the bike. And I find myself pulling for him at every turn until he hits the kid and I'm like, okay, wait. And then the kid at first is like, no, I'm not going with you. The kid is like, no, get away from me, I'm going to play Frogger in the street here a little longer. and then him trying to make it all okay by taking him to this fancy meal and whatnot. And, it seemed at that point, though, that dad, when they were at the meal, Dad had turned a bend. He was like, he'd given over, like, I'm going to spend the loot that we have right now. Why not? I'm at my wit's end already. It's going to, So, he was a dim guy. He made bad choices. I still feel like if institutions were functioning properly, I think he's doing just fine. Maybe not, though. Looking at some of the things some of the choices he made, there's some stuff there that probably could have led him to that same spot. So I thought, my theme being institutional failures lead to personal crisis. Maybe not, though. But that's my stab at it.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your perception of what they showed you, I mean, no one can take that away from you.
Yeah. It's funny listening to you guys, though, because I see it crystal clear, like the other way. I'm like, the filmmakers were definitely showing us the flaws of this guy too.
Yeah. So I'll bring up my theme next, because I think Tin Man is probably leaning this way.
And then I'll
much like the actual Tin Man in Wizard of Oz. Remember, he's in the road and he's like leaning one way, and they go to save
catch
him.
him. They catch him and go the other way.
Except you just be leaning one way the whole time.
If I have anything to add, I'll throw it in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll put it to, highlight my disclaimer in saying that I chose not to include any historical lens, and looked at this through a contemporary one. How do I feel about this situation right now? Is it relatable to what people go through now? And just kind of focusing on this watch, and so like all the history that Kmax brought up, I tried not to let that influence how I perceived the things that I saw on screen. So the theme that I came up with, just based on what I saw: everyone has their struggles, but misuse of resources and attention may have a profound impact on staying impoverished. Mm-hmm. So kind of the idea that there's too many factors and obstacles to spare any focus, and you literally can't afford to misuse resources. So throughout the movie, there's a lot of misuse of everything Antonio could be using to his advantage. Right off the bat, before we even start the story, he's already pawned off his bike. This is a mode of transportation. If you're looking for a job, how are you even going to do a job if you can't get to the job? And the money throughout the movie, let's buy a pizza. Oh, and then he even points it out. Well, if we want to eat like those people, it's going to cost this much a day. Let's order it.
Is he talking about me specifically right now?
What is this, 7 haircuts?
But then, Bruno, take the tram home. Here's some extra money. Let's go to a psychic and pay for an answer we already know.
That's right, yeah.
How much money do you have that you can just buy all this stuff? And then, you mentioned the church failing him. And I'm thinking, you were so desperate to sell your bike for a meal, but you're not desperate enough to go to the church for help when they're offering free meals, free haircuts, free shaves, and for what? It's not like he even had to stay there. They ushered them inside, but he was free to go whenever he wanted. Right. So if he were that desperate, he could have just come to the church for a free meal, him and his family, and come to rely on hope and faith and God to help him through this. And you mentioned the name of the bike is Hope, and so faith. And so he's pawned off his faith for what? For a job? I mean, why don't you
Buried
keep your
talents
faith
in the sand?
Mm-hmm. And the opportunities that he's wasted. The first moment that we meet this guy, if someone's out there calling, hey, all right, guys, I got a roll call for jobs here. Okay, I'm going to list them off. This guy's laying on the beach or whatever he's doing.
Over here, Caligula.
I don't care what you were doing before that. Yeah, stop eating your grapes. But I don't care what the character may have hypothetically been doing right before that. If he's desperate enough, he would be first at that line. Mm-hmm. He was just up there because someone that knew him said, hey, they're calling your name. Yeah. Get a job. So he's only up there because someone helped him. And then his wife doing everything for him. We got to sell our linens, right? We got to buy your bike back. Basically fixing his mistake of pawning the bike in the first place.
Because all he was doing was complaining to her. Oh, I had this chance, but I don't have my bike.
Right.
He had no solutions.
Right.
He was like, I just want to die.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the things
yeah.
he said. He's like, I just throw myself in the river or something like that.
Yeah,
was
honest
his
to
answer.
goodness, he did. He goes
was
like
like,
something about
"That's
the
your
day of my
answer.
birth.
You
Like
gotta-
something that cursed the day of my birth.
Yeah.
He said
You just got the job. Now you just got to get the bike. I'd rather die. Like
really dramatic.
Yeah.
And then this loss of attention, so attention to detail, with his family. So what are you doing? Why do you need a job? Oh, it's to provide for your family. This family that you almost let get run over in the street. This family that you just leave your wife behind and have no clue what she's doing during the day, because he didn't know who that psychic was at first. Mm-hmm. He didn't know that she had already planned to pawn the linens next. So it seems like he doesn't even know what she's thinking throughout the day. Her worries and her support that he'll never know. Her resorting to going to a psychic. It's like, how can we get through this? Will he get a job? Doing whatever she can in the social position that she's in to help her husband. And him just not caring, just being totally ignorant about that support that he's receiving there. So just this loss of attention to, you're doing this for your family. Don't forget that. That's the main reason you're doing it. You're not after this bike for a job. You're after this job to support your family. So he's losing sight of that, obviously, literally losing sight of his boy in the streets.
Yeah.
And then it's called back to at the end, the only thing that he's left with is the support of his family. He's got no job, no money, but his kid comes and holds his hand as an unwavering support. So to me, there's more of those instances than
A failure.
than things failing him,
Yeah.
I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's escape ropes lent to him that he's just kind of brushing off or not really trying to climb.
Right.
And there is the circumstance that his bike is stolen. There's nothing. I mean, could it have been closer to him? Sure, but who's actively trying to prevent anything of theirs being stolen? Someone steals your car. It's like, well, I guess I shouldn't have been inside at work then.
Yeah. Right.
But when it comes to the other ways that he could have taken advantage to move on up, he didn't. Or he was misusing the ways he could have moved on up. So that's why I framed my theme the way I did. And the context is relating it to today, when you have a lot of people misusing resources, misusing, you're in line at Walmart, you see people, they got movies, games, candy, chips, and then they're paying for it with
The ABT card.
with their
SNAP,
cards
their benefits
and their
card
benefits,
or whatever,
and it's kind of like, well, what is all this other stuff you're buying? So same idea, related to today. And so I feel like that's what shaped my lens for watching the movie this time. And reminder, I did this on purpose because I was hoping to get a much different theme perception than at least Kmax. I kind of thought Tin Man might be in the same arena, but I didn't know if he would.
I
would have all
I will
the-
throw something else in there
Okay.
too. So, bicycle thieves. So there's one in the beginning, there's one in the end. What do those two have in common? And it's going to be like how he becomes just like the guy that he hated from the beginning. Like they are in a difficult spot in poverty, and the bicycle thief himself from the beginning is also in a kind of a rough spot also. And how he looks down on this guy is exactly who he's turning out to be. Same exact person.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where I'm going with it, but there's some type of meaning behind it, whether it's thieves, it's translated with an S.
Well, there's a thief in the beginning that took away his hope and
and his mobility.
Yeah, his actual way of trying to get out of poverty. But then I had mentioned that he was robbing himself of this opportunity to get out of poverty as well.
And by the end of it.
And that was,
There you go.
on top of all those poor decisions, trying to steal a bike and, very...
solidifying his lot with shame and guilt for his son to see.
Yeah. So that was our perception on, or at least my perception on a theme, I think.
When you watched it in school, did they do like a theme analysis breakdown, anything like that with it? Or would they just kind of show it for people's, like...
I don't remember that
perception
context.
of it.
What I do remember, like I said, it was shown with a movie called Wendy and Lucy. And they're kind of mirroring each other, where it was like a realism, because that movie was very slow also, and it's not like anything really happened. This girl lost her dog and she's trying to get it back, and I think it probably had a sad ending as well.
Okay.
And so I think they kind of showed how relevant it was, or the realism, popping up. So I think it was more to do with the film style than it was like, okay, well, what's the theme? And I like to focus on theme because it gives you a better framework to try to understand the movie.
Yeah, no, I agree, because it takes me forever to finally get to a sentence that puts it all together, because I can go, I could see this, I can see this, I could see these ideas.
Well, this movie, like Hell or High Water, if you focus on certain things, it has different things and different themes that you could say. So this most certainly could be a piece about fatherhood and that dynamic.
Yeah.
But we're choosing to use it to
in the broadest way to understand a movie in its entirety, I guess.
And then it could also be, the themes could be systemic failures, for the public, but because there's so much to it, you can pick and choose what you want.
Yeah, we can layer them on top of each other if need be. Yeah. Oh yeah. This was an interesting movie. I haven't watched one like this in a while. It was just like, okay, it's in Italian. I don't think I've ever watched an Italian one, to be honest. One that they were talking and speaking in Italian the whole time. And it had kind of a neat backdrop though, because I've been to Rome at least twice, and that's how it looks now. Same exact, like, buildings are still there.
So how relevant do you guys see the movie to today, if at all?
I think it's very relevant. Social class, and these are things that won't go away. There'll always be haves and have-nots. Mm-hmm. There'll always be working poor, especially in Western civilization. There'll always be a working middle class that strives for more and doesn't get there. A small percentage of them will get there. That'll be just enough to make everybody else push for more. But largely, it's going to be a cycle where people will stay close to where they're at, or where their parents were. Maybe build a little bit more out of there. Where you don't see much of that is different kinds of nations. If you, to me, a movie like this could be made. You could take this, change a couple things, and it could be made in 2025. Mm-hmm. The same exact movie, because those dynamics exist, and you would have religious organizations, you would have political affiliations. You could do it over. You could make someone a conservative. You could make them a liberal. You could take them across any, and the reason why I differentiate between Western civilization and like Eastern nations is I don't understand them as well. So I don't know if those dynamics would be as clean from the 40s to today.
Right.
But I know in our civilization, it would plug and play. You just change the characters a little bit.
Change the bike to a car.
That's it. Change the bike to a car. Change the family dynamics from...
Or even, it doesn't even have to just change the bike to a motorbike.
Yeah, honest to goodness.
E-bike. It's an e-bike.
Yeah, honest to goodness.
He's a paper boy instead. Yeah. It's the same...
I feel like their level of poverty, though, is lower than our level of poverty. Nobody in New York State
Well, they'd
is
even have a computer
food.
back then, and now we have mini computers in our hands. So,
and they're given out. If you don't have the money or the means for it, they will give you a computer. It is different, but nobody's starving in this country that has any. There's people, caseworkers, will just be like, well, I'll do the paperwork for you because if you don't know how to do it, and then I'll make sure that you can.
I mean,
Not that there isn't
all sorts of misuse of resources.
I agree. But that level there isn't anyone to catch you. There isn't a separate organization that's like, well, who's falling through the cracks? Which is the other side of the Republican Democratic idea. Is like, at least in my mind, Republicans try to keep the engine running. Democrats catch people falling through the cracks. And there's no one catching anyone through the cracks there. They might die. There isn't anybody in the movie displayed as, or showed as dying. There is a lot of people working and trying to get things done and services being put in place.
Well, it's the people left to fend for themselves.
And that's it.
And you see it in like the drowning scene. Like there's people literally about to die, and who saves them? It's their own people.
Other people swimming with them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So relating, pretty heavy to what
Kmax
has to say.
And I kind of feel like the reservation was more like that when everyone was poor. Everyone kind of had to work off of each other to hey, they're really low.
Let's have community events so everyone eats.
Yep.
There's plenty to be said there. I think that is such a wonderful statement, honestly. When it's us, when there's no them, there's only us.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's such a powerful lyric. I mean, it's not a lyric, but like a thought, an idea of, as a community, there's us. It's us.
And I feel like the more that we're succeeding as individuals, the less the community's necessary and the less community interaction and stuff happens because of it. Because well, we make fine enough. Mm-hmm. That's why having the community events that we do have seem to be dwindling. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's not necessary. That's I'll go do my own thing now.
That's the thing. That's the magic of a small town and small community, is that you're a couple decisions away from that being a thing again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You really are, and you're a couple of decisions away from those things disappearing. Clan Lake, for instance. Because
like the word
the feast, one setting now instead of 3 or 4 settings.
Yeah. Yep.
So hunts with no rabbits instead of 70, 80 rabbits, 200 rabbits.
I remember having to
count. I mean, all those things. Every one of those things, man, are choices by people.
I was an old man captain and had to count to. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't counted to 152 in I don't know how long. I had to count in Tuscarora all the way to 150.
That's awesome.
I know the past minute or so for any non-Tuscarora or non-native listeners is going to sound like gobbledygook, but we'll probably end up reviewing it during our portrayal of indigenous folks in movies. So good commercial for upcoming episodes.
There you go.
Absolutely.
All right. Any closing remarks? Any witty closings we can do?
I like that kid's haircut. Bruno had a
pretty
solid cut.
His eyes were so bright.
Yeah, they were very
they're probably blue,
there.
right?
You talk about bright eyes and gray haircuts. Stop by Hilltop Cuts.
And then there's James. There it is.
Decent haircuts at a decent price. Hilltop Cuts.
Come for the cut, stay for the commercial.
Hey, by the way, I just want to get a plug out there for season 1. Mr. Vozly is a gifted graphic artist, and he's humble about it, so I won't even let him talk here. We've muted his mic. He's gifted. He's got an eye for it. He's created a wonderful season 1 poster that has alternate CD, DVD covers for many of the movies that we talked about and examined, just discussed in season 1. And they're super clever. And to understand them real well, you have to have known the movies, maybe watched them at least, and listened to the podcast and put that information together to kind of figure out what each of those covers are. And there's a couple dozen of them. And giant one in the barber shop that's going to be mounted tomorrow. And for your competition pleasure, Mr. Vozly has graciously created one, a framed poster having the same icons on it from season 1 for one lucky listener / participant. And now it's just going to be up to us to create a contest or something where we give this away. And it's beautiful. It's a really nice thing. It'll look good in an office, look good in your place of business. Hint, hint, get the word out. It'd even look good in the residence if you just want to hang it up in your residence. So we'll think of something clever to get it out there. Remember to follow our Instagram, Depth Perception Movie Podcast. That's not just Depth Perception. It's Depth Perception Movie Podcast on Instagram. And we'll get off our butts. And me, will get off my butt and start being active on that again and give you a chance to win this beautiful poster. So stay tuned for that.
And now back to our regular programming. Oh no, we're out of time. Alrighty, next week we are going to watch Parasite as our second movie for poverty in movies.
Only heard good things about this one. I have not seen this one yet.
I have not seen it either.
Yet another challenge, and it's going to move at much faster pace compared to Bicycle Thieves, but it is also foreign.
I'm going to also try not to read the homework assignment before. No.
Well, I mean, it's still
just stress me out for 2 hours while I'm doing this.
Like, Tin Man, go first.
Yeah.
Breaks out his notebook. It's just a list of excuses.
It's just last week's notes.
It's just Mr. Vozly said,
my dog ate my homework.
All right.
You can't see it right now, but I'm making the turtle face like the girl did in the movie.
I can't help but make that turtle face. Alrighty, next week, Parasite from, I think, 2019. I could be wrong on that. Okay,